The streams of liquid fire erupted from modified Sherman tanks on that February morning in 1945. Green Beach witnessed something unprecedented. 8 converted M4A3 tanks had emerged from the 5th landing wave. They carried weapons that would reshape cave warfare forever. Marines had nicknamed these modified tanks Zippos. The name stuck like the reliable lighter they resembled. Japanese defenders would soon create their own term. Hai no Kuruma, they called them. Chariots of fire. These 8 machines split between 2 units. 4 went to the 4th Tank Battalion. 4 joined the 5th Tank Battalion. Each could project streams of thickened gasoline and napalm. Under perfect conditions, flames reached 400 feet. Fortified positions that seemed untouchable suddenly became vulnerable. What happened next changed everything. Not just tactics, but the minds of men who thought they were prepared for anything. Japanese defenders had spent months creating what they believed were perfect defenses. Every detail had been calculated, every angle measured, every tunnel tested. They had prepared for conventional weapons. They had not prepared for liquid fire that flowed like water and burned like hell. The transformation in Japanese defensive thinking had begun months earlier. July 1944 saw Saipan fall. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi commanded Iwo Jima's defenses. He studied every American assault since Tarawa. His conclusion contradicted 3 years of Japanese doctrine. Americans could not be stopped on beaches. This realization changed everything. 75 feet beneath the surface, Kuribayashi worked in his underground command post. December 1, 1944, brought Defense Order No. 1. The words were revolutionary. We shall not engage the enemy on the beaches. We shall allow him to land. We shall let him come to us. We shall kill him from positions he cannot reach. The mathematics had shifted completely. Tarawa cost 4,500 Japanese lives in 76 hours of beach fighting. Saipan consumed 30,000 defenders in less than a month of mobile warfare. But Iwo Jima was different. Kuribayashi commanded 21,000 men. They had vanished inside 11 miles of tunnels. Approximately 1,500 man-made caves and pillboxes connected everything. Construction had demanded enormous sacrifice. 25% of the garrison worked on digging. That meant 5,250 men laboring in impossible conditions. Tunnel temperatures reached 30 to 50 degrees Celsius. Some areas hit 86 to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Toxic sulfur fumes choked workers. Men could only dig for 5-minute shifts before collapsing. Cave sizes varied dramatically. Small positions held 3 or 4 men. Massive chambers accommodated 300 to 400 soldiers. Kuribayashi's own command post featured 150 meters of connecting tunnels. Mount Suribachi contained 7 levels of underground fortifications. 800 concrete pillboxes dotted the island. Walls measured up to 4 feet thick. Japanese engineers had learned from 3 years of American attacks. They knew about flamethrowers. The M1 and M2 portable units could project flame 40 to 60 feet. Cave entrances were built accordingly. Entrance tunnels extended 100 feet or more before reaching living chambers. They knew about satchel charges, too. Volcanic rock could withstand anything infantry could carry. Military engineers considered this the most sophisticated defensive network of World War II. 21,000 men had essentially disappeared inside 8 square miles. They had calculated for every American weapon except one. That weapon had been developed in secret. A main battle tank that could project liquid fire at impossible distances. Desperation had birthed this innovation. 13 months earlier, the Marshall Islands had presented new challenges. February 1, 1944, brought Marine tanks to Roy Namur. Japanese bunkers shrugged off direct hits from 75mm guns. Something new was needed. Collaboration between Seabees and the Chemical Warfare Service produced the answer. Naval construction battalions worked with weapons specialists. Pearl Harbor's Navy Yard began converting battle-damaged M4A3 Sherman tanks. Official Navy records documented the process. The technical designation was POA-CWS-H1, developed specifically for Pacific operations. Revolutionary specifications emerged from Navy Department records. The main gun was replaced with a Mark I Navy flame projector. The system operated at 300 psi compressed gas pressure. Continuous fire could be maintained for 55 to 80 seconds. The fuel mixture was sophisticated. Gasoline thickened with napalm. Aluminum salts of naphthenic and palmitic acids. Louis Fieser's team at Harvard had developed this in 1942. Initial tests at Schofield Barracks began in March 1944. Flame streams reached up to 400 feet under optimal conditions. Effective combat range typically measured 150 to 200 yards. The flame projector delivered a solid rod of fire. It could be played across targets with devastating effect. Testing revealed something unexpected. Thickened gasoline entering cave systems would flow through tunnel networks. It followed gravity down passages. It flowed around corners. It continued burning at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It consumed all available oxygen. February 21, 1945, marked D+2. The time was 14:30 hours. First combat deployment occurred on Mount Suribachi's eastern slope. Marine casualties had been mounting steadily. Concealed Japanese positions poured fire onto advancing troops. Traditional assault tactics were proving costly. 5th Tank Battalion records documented the moment. The flame tank designated Satan advanced to approximately 150 yards from suspected cave positions. At 14:37 hours, the flame gunner triggered the Mark I's projector. Official after-action reports captured what happened next. Streams of liquid fire maintained cohesion for hundreds of feet. They splashed against the mountainside. They flowed into cave entrances. Napalm-thickened gasoline flowed down entrance tunnels. It moved around defensive angles designed to stop conventional weapons. It pooled in low spots. It continued burning. The Japanese defensive manual had dedicated only one paragraph to flame weapons. They assumed portable flamethrowers with ranges of 20 meters. They calculated fuel supplies limiting attacks to 8 to 10 seconds. The flame tanks carried vastly more fuel. They could deliver sustained streams for over a minute. The physics of destruction were documented by the Chemical Warfare Service. The Mark I flame projector delivered gallons of thickened fuel per second at 300 psi. Multiple lethal mechanisms occurred when flame entered confined spaces. Direct immolation from fuel contact created instant casualties at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Radiant heat caused third-degree burns at considerable distances from the flame itself. Complete oxygen depletion occurred within seconds in confined spaces. Carbon monoxide concentrations reached lethal levels almost immediately. Thermal expansion of rock could cause structural collapse. A single sustained burst created unsurvivable conditions throughout interconnected cave systems. The 43rd Chemical Laboratory Company perfected the stabilized flamethrower fuel mixture in June 1945. They documented that thickened fuel would adhere to surfaces. It continued burning for extended periods. This made reoccupation of positions impossible. February 23, 1945 brought D+4. Mount Suribachi faced its final assault. Lieutenant Colonel Chandler Johnson's 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines received flame tank support. Marine Corps records indicated 165 caves had been identified on the volcano's slopes. Traditional tactics would have required extensive casualties to clear each position. flame tank crews had developed new tactics. Tank battalion reports documented their evolution. They operated in pairs, one flame tank, one standard Sherman providing covering fire. The approach followed a systematic pattern. Advance to effective range, typically 150 to 200 yards. Suppress visible positions with conventional fire. Engage caves with flame for 30 to 40 seconds. Displace and wait for secondary explosions from ammunition detonation. The 28th Marines After-Action Report documented February 23rd results. 47 cave positions neutralized. Friendly casualties, 3 wounded. Enemy killed, estimated 800. This represented a complete reversal of expected casualty ratios for cave warfare. Radio intercepts decoded by Fleet Radio Unit Pacific documented Japanese command communications. Their unpreparedness was obvious. February 22nd, 800 brought requests for immediate countermeasures for enemy flame tanks. February 22nd, 1430 declared flame tanks priority targets. February 23rd, 0600 authorized evacuation of forward caves when flame tanks approached. February 23, 1800 brought Suribachi garrison's request for permission for final charge. They could not maintain positions against flame weapons. Combat operations drove immediate battlefield modifications. CB maintenance units documented initial problems. Fuel mixture adjustments were needed for cold morning temperatures. Ignition system failures resulted from volcanic dust. Solutions included installing secondary electric igniters. Additional armor plates were welded to protect against volcanic rock damage. Within days, crews discovered new techniques. Mixing diesel fuel with napalm gasoline created denser smoke. This provided better penetration into ventilation systems. They developed the splash technique. Deliberately overshooting cave mouths let burning fuel run down cliff faces into hidden entrances. Baron Takechi Nishi commanded the 26th Tank Regiment. His attempt to counter flame tanks with remaining Type 97 tanks failed completely. The engagement on February 24th lasted minutes. 3 Type 97s were destroyed without damaging any American tanks. Nishi himself died in a cave in the northern sector, according to Japanese records recovered after the war. February 26, 1945, brought the assault on Hills 382 and 362A. This demonstrated flame tank capability against interconnected bunker systems. The defensive complex beneath Hill 382 featured multiple tunnel levels connecting dozens of positions, according to captured Japanese engineering documents. Marine Corps records described the assault beginning at 0630 hours. Flame tanks targeted ventilation shafts rather than cave mouths. This allowed gravity to distribute fire throughout the complex. Official reports noted smoke emerging from dozens of previously unidentified exits. This effectively mapped the tunnel system. The 3rd Marine Division's intelligence section reported something unprecedented. Defenders were abandoning positions before flame tanks arrived. Several bunkers were found completely abandoned with supplies intact. This was unprecedented in Japanese defensive doctrine. By late February, Marine intelligence documented what they termed cascade collapse in Japanese morale. The psychological impact exceeded physical destruction. For the first time in the Pacific War, significant numbers of Japanese soldiers surrendered rather than die. Marine intelligence reports noted Japanese prisoners using terms like demon weapon and dragon's breath when describing flame tanks. The 216 prisoners taken during the battle represented the first significant Japanese surrenders of the Pacific War. Post-war interrogations revealed many surrendered specifically to avoid death by burning. Captured Japanese documents indicated units were abandoning prepared positions at reports of approaching flame tanks. This represented a complete breakdown of the Bushido warrior code that had sustained Japanese resistance through previous battles. March 2, 1945, brought the battle for Motoyama Airfield No. 2. This saw systematic employment of flame tanks. Japanese forces had constructed 280 interconnected strongpoints around the airfield according to captured defensive plans. Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Chambers commanded 3rd Battalion, 25th Marines. He documented in his operations order, "General reduction of airfield defenses, estimated 1,000 tons plus casualties. Flame tanks will execute preparatory reduction before infantry advance." Marine Corps records show the systematic reduction proceeded grid by grid. Multiple positions were found abandoned before assault. Supplies and personal effects were left behind. The operation demonstrated that Japanese forces were choosing preservation over death for the first time on this scale. March 10, 1945, brought experimental operations. Seismic detection equipment operated by naval technical specialists was introduced. Using modified oil exploration equipment, teams could detect underground tunnel systems. They provided flame tank commanders with targeting data. Major General Graves Erskine commanded the 3rd Marine Division. He described this in his after-action report as three-dimensional warfare, fighting simultaneously above ground, on the surface, and underground. The combination of seismic detection and flame weapons proved devastatingly effective against deep tunnel complexes. By March 16th, flame tank operations had evolved significantly. Standard effective range remained 150 to 200 yards. Crews had experimented with pressure and fuel modifications to extend range when needed. Marine Tank Battalion records document various technical innovations developed during combat operations. The psychological impact of these weapons extended beyond their actual capabilities. Japanese communications intercepted by radio intelligence units indicated widespread belief that American flame weapons had unlimited range. This contributed to defensive collapse. Official Marine Corps records document flame tank operations on Iwo Jima. Operational period, February 19th to March 26, 1945. 36 days total. Flame tanks deployed, 8 total, 4 to 4th Tank Battalion, 4 to 5th Tank Battalion. Daily fuel consumption, 5,000 haulers to 10,000 gallons at peak operations. Cave positions neutralized. Hundreds documented in unit records. Japanese casualties from flame weapons, thousands. Exact number undetermined. Estimated Marine casualties prevented. Thousands based on traditional assault calculations. Comparative analysis showed traditional cave assault required multiple infantry squads. 20 to 30% casualties were expected per position. Flame tank operations could neutralize multiple positions per hour with minimal friendly casualties. The success at Iwo Jima influenced planning for Operation Downfall, the proposed invasion of Japan. Joint Chiefs of Staff documents indicate planners requested massive flame tank production based on Iwo Jima results. The demonstration that cave defenses could be systematically neutralized altered invasion calculations. Japanese military assessments documented in post-war interrogations by the United States Strategic Bombing Survey acknowledged that flame tanks had negated their entire defensive strategy. Some Japanese military leaders testified this reality influenced surrender considerations alongside atomic weapons. Corporal Herschel Woody Williams received the Medal of Honor for his actions on February 23, 1945. He provided one of the most detailed accounts of flame operations. Using a portable flamethrower, Williams eliminated multiple Japanese positions while covered by riflemen. His citation notes, he neutralized one position after another, enabling Marine advances. Williams later testified about the tactical importance of flame weapons. Japanese had built these positions to withstand everything we had, but fire goes where bullets can't. It finds every space, every corner. one flame tank could do what would cost us dozens of men to accomplish. Marine tank crews documented the psychological burden of operating flame weapons. Veterans Administration studies conducted post-war found flame tank. Crewmen experienced combat stress at higher rates than other armored units. The intimate nature of flame warfare created unique psychological challenges. Visual and auditory awareness of enemy casualties created lasting trauma. Captured Japanese documents and post-war interrogations revealed the complete inadequacy of their preparations for flame tank warfare. The Japanese had extensive experience with portable flamethrowers. They had not anticipated vehicle-mounted weapons with extended range and massive fuel capacity. General Kuribayashi's final message, transmitted before his death in late March, acknowledged, "Enemy flame tanks have neutralized our cave defenses. Positions requiring months to construct are destroyed in minutes. American technology has overcome Japanese spirit." This message, intercepted by American radio intelligence, confirmed the decisive impact of flame weapons. Post-war testimony from the few Japanese survivors confirmed the terror these weapons inspired. One survivor providing testimony to war crimes, investigators stated that soldiers who had faced death courageously in previous battles fled from flame tanks. The weapons created a form of death that contradicted their concepts of honorable military service. The lessons from Iwo Jima were immediately applied to Okinawa operations beginning April 1, 1945. Marine Corps records show expanded flame tank deployment with improved tactics based on Iwo Jima experience. Colonel Hiromichi Yahara, operations officer for the Japanese 32nd Army on Okinawa, had studied Iwo Jima reports according to captured documents. His defensive preparations included water reservoirs, extended tunnel systems, and flame barriers. All proved ineffective against improved American flame tank tactics. Marine units on Okinawa received enhanced flame tank support with specialized fuel supply infrastructure. The 713th Flamethrower Battalion, specially created for Okinawa operations, documented even more effective employment than at Iwo Jima. The flame tank operations represented massive industrial support beyond the weapons themselves. Navy construction battalions built fuel storage and mixing facilities even during combat operations. By battle's end, infrastructure included underground fuel storage, mixing stations for napalm preparation, miles of fuel distribution pipeline, and forward resupply points. The Chemical Warfare Service documented that operations required daily delivery of thousands of gallons of fuel components. The entire supply chain demonstrated American industrial capacity that Japanese forces could not match. From stateside chemical plants producing napalm compounds to frontline fuel mixing, the logistics were staggering. Medical records from Navy hospital ships documented the unique casualties created by flame weapons. Burns, smoke inhalation, and carbon monoxide poisoning required specialized treatment. The hospital ship USS Samaritan reported treating both American and Japanese burn casualties. Japanese soldiers initially resisted treatment, believing they had dishonored themselves by surviving. International Red Cross representatives permitted to inspect POW facilities documented that captured Japanese soldiers expressed particular fear of flame weapons. This contributed to the unprecedented number of surrenders compared to previous Pacific battles. The flame tank innovations at Iwo Jima influenced military development for decades. Official military histories traced direct lineage from these weapons to Korean War flame tanks, Vietnam-era flame weapons, and modern thermobaric weapons operating on similar principles. The fundamental principle of using flowing burning liquid to clear enclosed spaces remains relevant to modern combat. Contemporary military doctrine for tunnel and cave warfare still references lessons learned from Iwo Jima flame tank operations. The United States Marine Corps official history states, "The development of the flame-throwing tank was one of the most significant American technical innovations in the Pacific War. At Iwo Jima, these weapons proved decisive in reducing Japanese cave positions that would have cost thousands of Marine casualties using conventional tactics." Admiral Chester Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief Pacific Fleet, noted in his report, "The flame-throwing tanks proved to be the most effective weapon for the reduction of Japanese cave defenses. Without these weapons, our casualties would have been infinitely greater." General Holland Smith, commanding V Amphibious Corps, wrote, "The 8 flame tanks on Iwo Jima were worth a battalion of infantry in terms of their ability to neutralize Japanese fortifications. They saved countless Marine lives. While flame tanks reduced American casualties, they created unique moral challenges documented in military chaplain reports. Marines struggled with the nature of the weapon even while recognizing its necessity. Military chaplains reported increased requests for counseling from flame tank crews compared to other units. The Japanese perspective, documented through post-war testimony and captured documents, reveals the complete collapse of their defensive strategy. Forces that had been prepared to die in conventional combat found themselves fleeing from a form of death they had never anticipated. This psychological defeat preceded and enabled physical defeat. Military legal reviews conducted during and after the war confirmed flame weapon legality under international law. The weapons were not specifically prohibited by the Geneva or Hague Conventions. Their use against military fortifications was considered legitimate under the laws of war as understood in 1945. Post-war war crimes trials did not prosecute flame weapon use by either side. The weapons were considered a legitimate response to Japanese cave fortifications that could not be effectively reduced by other means without excessive casualties. The annual reunion and honor ceremonies on Iwo Jima, beginning in 1970, have brought together American and Japanese veterans. These gatherings, documented by both governments, demonstrate reconciliation between former enemies. At the 40th anniversary reunion in 1985, Japanese and American veterans met at sites where flame tanks had been employed. Japanese survivors acknowledged the weapon's effectiveness, while Americans expressed respect for Japanese courage. These meetings, documented by military historians, show how former enemies found common ground in shared experience. The 75th anniversary reunion in March 2020 included only 7 American veterans, highlighting the passing of this generation. Their final testimonies, recorded for historical preservation, emphasized both the necessity and the horror of flame warfare. The National Archives contains extensive documentation of flame tank operations at Iwo Jima. Tank Battalion war diaries, after-action reports, and technical assessments provide detailed operational records. Japanese documents captured after the battle and testimony from post-war interrogations confirm the weapon's impact. The Marine Corps History Division maintains official records documenting that flame tanks fundamentally changed cave warfare tactics. These weapons demonstrated that technological innovation could overcome defensive advantages that had cost thousands of casualties in previous operations. Photographic evidence from combat photographers shows flame tanks in action, their streams of fire reaching toward Japanese positions. Film footage now preserved in military archives captures the weapon's devastating effectiveness against cave fortifications. The deployment of 8 flame tanks to Iwo Jima represented more than tactical innovation. It demonstrated how industrial capacity and technological development could fundamentally alter combat dynamics. These weapons negated defensive advantages that Japanese forces had spent months creating. The streams of liquid fire that could reach up to 400 feet under optimal conditions didn't just clear caves. They cleared away illusions about the nature of modern industrial warfare. Japanese forces that had prepared for conventional assault found themselves facing a weapon that flowed through their defenses as inevitably as American victory flowed from industrial superiority. The Japanese troops who fled their caves when confronted by flame tanks made rational decisions when facing technology that rendered their fortifications into death traps. Their careful preparations based on traditional combat expectations proved worthless against liquid fire that followed gravity through every tunnel and consumed oxygen from every chamber. The flame tanks saved thousands of American lives by avoiding the casualties that cave-by-cave fighting would have required. They also inflicted a form of death that haunted those who employed them and terrified those who faced them. This duality, salvation for one side, horror for the other, defines their legacy. Military historians recognize the flame tanks at Iwo Jima as a decisive innovation that shortened the battle and reduced American casualties. The weapons demonstrated that in modern industrial warfare, technological superiority could overcome human courage and determination when the disparity became overwhelming. The 8 flame tanks deployed to Iwo Jima proved a fundamental truth of industrial-age warfare. Victory belongs not necessarily to the brave, but to those with superior tools and the industrial capacity to employ them effectively. The Japanese defenders discovered that warrior spirit could not stop liquid fire. That courage could not overcome chemistry, and that determination meant nothing when flames flowed through tunnels like water seeking its level. The battle for Iwo Jima ended on March 26, 1945, after 36 days of combat. Of approximately 21,000 Japanese defenders, roughly 20,000 died. Only 216 surrendered during the battle, unprecedented in Pacific War operations. American forces suffered 6,140 killed and 17,113 wounded, according to official casualty figures. Without flame tanks, these casualties would have been significantly higher. The transformation was complete. From faith in defensive fortifications to recognition that technology could negate any positional advantage. The flame tanks had demonstrated that in the arithmetic of modern war, industrial capacity multiplied by technological innovation equals victory, regardless of human courage on the other side of the equation. Today, Iwo Jima, now returned to its Japanese name Iwo-to, stands as a monument to the price of victory in modern warfare. The caves that once sheltered Japanese defenders remain, some still showing scorch marks from flame tank operations. They serve as permanent testimony to the moment when liquid fire transformed the nature of cave warfare and demonstrated the decisive power of industrial might in modern combat. The legacy of those 8 flame tanks extends far beyond their tactical success. They represented the moment when warfare's fundamental nature shifted from human courage against human courage to human will channeled through industrial might against human will constrained by technological limitations. The flames that flowed through Iwo Jima's caves illuminated this new reality as harshly as they illuminated the tunnels where brave men died.